All right, let's talk about Trump's State of the Union address. We are going to be going over a fact check released by factcheck.org that was just absolutely brutal. We have about 22 or so points that they go over, and I'll touch on it at the end a little bit, but this isn't even covering everything. And there's already 22 just that they were able to pull, like, a couple hours after it aired. There was many more that I noticed that were missing, that just weren't mentioned in this. So that just makes it more interesting, because you're talking well over 22 lies that Trump essentially told. Now, the overall State of the Union, it was, I'm going to be honest, it was boring. I was expecting it to be a little bit crazier. I guess it's a good thing that it wasn't. You had your standard Democrats, the ones that went, they just sat there silently. There was a few times where they did stand up and clap. And one point, it was, I think, in relation to like bombing Iran. But, yeah, my biggest gripe was the media response afterwards. You had the Democratic response being from Abigail Spangler or Spangberger or whatever the fuck, the governor from Virginia that just won. And it was just a very normal message, just like it kind of still like we're in the early 2000s era, not really hitting hard at all. Like, if you're giving a response to Trump's State of the Union address and you don't call him a fucking pedophile at least once, or an extreme fraudster, then or a fascist, then you're not meeting the moment. You're not meeting the moment. It's not 2010 anymore. We need to get with the program, please. And then, of course, you had ABC that brought on Kevin McCarthy. You had CNN immediately bring on like Nancy Pelosi. Overall, like, I just feel like we're normalizing this insane fascist takeover that we are witnessing right now. But anyways, putting that aside, let's go over this fact check from factcheck.org. Now, they do have like a larger article here that goes into detail with all these. We will not be reading that, but I recommend you go and check it out if you want more information, because some of these are kind of, they're very vague. It's meant to be very bite-sized and just get the point across. Anyways, in the first State of the Union address of his second term, President Donald Trump proclaimed that our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever. What a difference a president makes, Trump said. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. Just a lie. But our review of his speech found that he distorted a number of facts about the state of the economy, healthcare, immigration, and other topics. All right, let's go ahead. Bite size. Let's get through these. So, Trump falsely claimed that he inherited a stagnant economy with inflation at record levels. Annual growth in real GDP was 2.5% or higher each year under former President Joe Biden, and the annual inflation rate was down 3% from its peak of 9.1% when Trump took office. The president went on to claim that the economy is roaring like never before, but real GDP growth in 2025 was down to 2.2%, according to a federal estimate. Also, the unemployment rate has increased slightly under Trump. And the big thing about this that they don't touch on, like our GDP growth, it's kind of fake. Like, the positive GDP growth we have is kind of fake, because it's like four companies like Nvidia, OpenAI, and a couple others just passing the same several $100 billion around. And when that pops, it's going to be terrible. We already know that several states are already technically like in a recession. So take that as you will. He misleadingly claimed that prices are plummeting downward because of his policies. The annual rate of inflation has declined, but prices overall are still increasing. Trump's claim that more Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country, while accurate, doesn't account for population growth. Job growth slowed a bit last year. Yeah, this is an insane claim, because the job report numbers have been terrible. And they come out and they're terrible, and they get revised and they're even more terrible. Like, yeah, like it's one of those things where he like takes credit for crime being at an all-time low, when like the past, like, couple years before, including when Biden was president, it was at all-time lows, and it was just continuing with the trend. So good job. I guess you continue with the trend, even though you're about to buck the trend, because job growth has completely declined over the past year. The president misleadingly claimed that Americans will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. The administration's negotiation with drug companies may have lowered prices for some specific drugs in certain situations, but there is no evidence of a widespread decline in prices. He repeated his exaggerated claim that in 12 months, I secured commitments for more than 18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. They do go into more detail on this on the full article, but that 18 trillion number, like 98% of it is just pledges. Just pledges, just literally made up numbers. Like, yes, Mr. President, I will pledge $5 trillion over the next 5 years. And like all this, nothing written, no actual agreements. And you know it's bullshit when he's talking about a nation of, like, let's say Qatar. And he's like, Qatar, they are investing $3 trillion into the United States. It's like, their entire GDP is like not even $3 trillion. What are you talking about? Like, that's impossible. Trump made the unsupported claim that the flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. There is no evidence for that, but I know I'll give it to him. I'll give that one to him, sure. The president continued to exaggerate the decline in gasoline prices, saying that they are now below $2.36 a gallon in most states, and no state was the average that low, and the nationwide average is $2.94. We're in my great state, we're about $1 off from that, so that's not true. Like, he cherry picks like some fucking bumfuck town in like Idaho or some shit. He claimed, or wait, excuse me, skipping one, a very important one. Trump continued to make his inflated claim about ending 8 wars. Obviously, don't have time to go into that. If you want to see more on that, you can check out their full article. But yeah, like there have been countries that come out and be like that Trump had nothing to do with this, or it was countries that weren't even at war. You like just straight up made up wars. Let's see. He claimed to have presided over a tremendous renewal of religion in America, but recent polling has found the opposite. Trump claimed that the $1,776 warrior dividend bonus checks paid to military personnel came from tariff revenue, but it was actually a reallocation of funds initially earmarked for an increased housing allowance. So, like, just kind of a scam, you know what I mean? Because that's taking away from the housing allowance, so that's going to stay the same or go down. The president repeated his unsupported claim that many immigrants came from prisons and mental institutions, and he wrongly claimed that Biden administration allowed 11,888 murders. Trump boasted about the stock market gains since his election, but the gains were less than each of the last 2 years under Biden. He exaggerated when he said his signature legislation eliminated tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits for seniors. The tax breaks are substantial, but do not apply to all individuals. And like, he always markets it as like you're saving that money up front. That's not true. You're still paying taxes on that, and you get to claim it on your taxes at the end of the year, and you get a bigger refund. And he has for years, Trump insisted without evidence that cheating is rampant in our elections, and he claimed legislation was needed to stop illegal aliens from voting, though evidence suggests that's rare. Trump claimed that the federal budget could be balanced if we're able to find enough of that fraud. The most recent budget deficit was $1.8 trillion, more than 3 times higher than the highest federal estimate of government money lost annually to fraud. Trump claimed that he inherited a rampant crime at home and later boasted that last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. Crime and murder was down last year, continuing a trend that began in 2022. It's like, yes, congratulations, you managed to not ruin a trend. Trump made the dubious claim that his increased tariffs would one day replace income taxes, something many economists say don't add up. Yeah, that's insane. That's not going to happen. And if you think that's going to happen, I would like you to flesh it out for me and explain that. Trump claimed that the U.S. obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program last year. Experts have said that the program was damaged but not destroyed, and Trump is now considering military action over Iran's nuclear program. Yeah, like he said, completely obliterated. We set them back. There, it's over. It's done. And like, guess what? Now we're back to the same old talking points. They're 1 week away from having a nuclear bomb. Like, it's getting exhausting. Trump said Republicans would always protect Medicaid. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act changes the program to reduce spending by more than $900 billion and are estimated to result in 7.5 million fewer people with health insurance. Trump said American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day when crude oil production increased by 334,000 barrels per day in his first full 10 months in office. He also claimed that U.S. natural gas production increased to an all-time high because he kept his promise to drill, baby, drill. And I couldn't stress this enough, like when he was coming in, that even under Biden,
despite his more leaning into green and renewable energy, gas and like oil extraction and production were at already record levels when Trump came into office based on what Biden was already doing. Trump's February 24 address was longer than any prior State of the Union, clocking in at over 1 hour and 47 minutes as measured by the American Presidency Project at the University of California. Again, you can go and check out the full story, but like, God, overall, it was just a boring State of the Union. Nothing really, just it was boring. What else do you want me to say? But like this doesn't go like into this doesn't go into the claims about like Iran, and he like said they slaughtered 32,000 protesters, which was that was a lie. They touched on the border stuff a little bit, but like the fact that he said that like millions came in unvetted, unchecked, that was also a lie. It was just it was full of lies, and I'll be interested to see what the final tally is for this hour and how many lies in an hour and 47-minute speech. It's crazy that we're already at 22, but anyways, that's all I have. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.